Two Knicks Chicks family, welcome back to another episode of Two Knicks Chicks. I'm your girl, Lady and the Chef, and I'm joined by my co-host today.
D Block 21. Good evening, all.
Right, I feel like we haven't been on in a while, but we're back to say the
We,
least.
we was last weekend. What? Where are we?
When was I think we was on.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been about a week, 5 days since our last show, but lots of Knicks games to talk about and go over. The Knicks have been on a solid run, I like to think. They did win yesterday against Denver. That was an excellent game, 142 to 103. Prior to that, they played on Wednesday where they lost by 3 to OKC. That was a pretty good game. Even though the Knicks lost, I like how the Knicks were able to regain their footing and come back into that game. And then they played Toronto and beat Toronto on Tuesday, 111 to 95, which I had the Knicks. I wasn't sure when we gave our predictions if the Knicks were going to drop the Toronto game or the Thunder game. It was between those two. I felt confident about the Denver game because the Knicks have showed, and even the way that the Knicks played the Denver Nuggets the last time, I feel like the Knicks has Denver's number,
Yeah.
and they were confident playing them. So I was not sure if it was going to be that um, Toronto game where maybe the Knicks slipped up and was a step too slow. But no, the Knicks as well with Toronto have their number as well. So the Knicks look confident and look good. And against the Thunder, if we just kind of go back on that game, which was on Wednesday, the Knicks lost by 3. You and I were like texting, we were talking during that game. And I thought the refs were calling that game with a tight whistle.
Yeah.
Um, you know, Carl Anthony Towns continues to not get a lot of calls, which is quite strange to me. And I kind of wanted to go into that a little later and ask you about that. But I don't know. It almost felt like, and you had called this. You said there has to be some underlying black market with the referees where they're betting on parlays and kind of like how players have been doing it and they've gotten busted for doing it. But I agree, it has to be something going on because it's no way that there was a lot of non-calls called when Brunson was literally sacrificing his body damn near the entire night. And the refs just weren't calling a lot of the calls on SGA, specifically that one call where Brunson took the charge. Shea had ran into him, and it's almost like the refs didn't want him to get a third foul so that way he could still play. And then
Mm.
it rang, the bell went off when you said, yeah, because they're betting behind the scenes. There's an underground. And I saw a video, and I think I sent it to you, where Jeremy Lin was on somebody's podcast. This is recent.
Dwight Howard.
Oh, it was the White House. I didn't know whose podcast it
Yeah,
was.
that's his.
Okay. And he was talking about how he was in the game. And I believe this is when he was in Brooklyn. I don't think
Yeah, he
this
was
is,
playing for the Nets. Yep.
yeah, he wasn't playing on the Knicks. And he basically was saying how you know, he was on fire, having a great game, him and another player on the Nets. He goes, we go into overtime, and I get the call from one of the coaches telling me, yeah, you're going to sit out. He said, I couldn't believe it. And that's when he basically iterated, yeah, there's some underground betting going on. And it's apparent. The players are doing it, they're getting caught. And I believe, like you said, I think the referees are doing it as well. But I do commend the Knicks on the comeback in that game against OKC. They could have gave up, but the Knicks tightened up their defense. They found a way to get back in that game, and honestly, they put OKC on their heels. Even though Chet was just on fire, there was nothing you could do. That was just better offense. But the Knicks somehow figured out a way. The Knicks had a great third quarter. They outscored OKC 40 to 27, but the other three quarters they did get outscored by them. But what were your takeaways from that OKC game?
Well, again, first of all, they competed. Um, they didn't let I mean, the score got. I think the largest margin might have been, I don't know, like 10 or something, maybe 15, something like that. but they were able to regroup and and I don't want to say take control, but they competed for the most part. Um, it wasn't a blowout, like you said. Although they lost, and they had stuff. They had like two chances, to tie it up to go. They just didn't get that friendly bounce, or it wasn't enough oomph on it.
Right.
Um, you know, uh, one thing I noticed, and me and you both said, like, yeah, and I'm not putting the blame on Brunson, not at all, but he didn't have that lift.
Oh yeah, his legs were done. We did
Yeah,
point
yeah,
that out. His legs were done. He didn't
yeah,
have any lift at all.
yeah. We were talking about that, and he seemed to, like, I don't know if the shots they were, forced or whatever.
Right.
Yeah, he had 16 points, but he was 5 for 18. And 15 assists. So kudos for that. That means he's distributing the ball. He's being that playmaker that we so desire and want to see in him.
Right.
So that was key. But you know, again, the whistle was swallowed, or they just didn't. They shoved it in their pocket. I don't know. And it's so interesting that I listened to these different podcasts, Sirius and X, Y, and Z, and they were saying, this is Shea's only visit to Madison Square Garden. Do you seriously think that they're gonna let this guy get 3 fouls and now he has to sit out and people? Well, if it's a foul, I don't care if this is his only game in his life forever. You still gotta call it fairly. I don't
Right.
give a crap who he is, the MVP. If it's a foul, it's a foul.
Right.
He's human. Now he needs to learn, sit on that bench and figure it out. Okay, I gotta tread lightly. I can't get this fourth foul. Yeah, he might. I don't care. I'm
Right.
like, that's not a lot of the reasoning behind that, because this is his only visit to MSG. Do you really think, well, if it's a foul, it's a foul? So, I mean, I get it. He's a reigning MVP, but you got to call it fairly. You can't swallow your whistle, And so, the Knicks, they didn't, fold. After that,
Hmm.
they still competed. I would have loved for them to get that win, because we always say how they not beating the top echelons, and you know, this, this is like a measuring stick or whatever you want to call it. If they could beat this team, and I thought that months ago, but I don't think that way now. I don't, because of the way they're competing.
Right.
So again, they hung in there, um, didn't get blown out. It was a 3 point margin, which is not a lot. So overall, I'm definitely happy with where they're going. You know.
Yeah. And I think also too that even though the Knicks only lost by 3, I think that also sent a message to OKC players, coaching
Yeah.
staff, and fans that the Knicks can compete with them if it
Oh,
came down to it in the postseason, because like I said, the Knicks could have gave up on that game, but they found a way to regroup and restructure and tighten up on that defense. And that was what really helped in that game, the disruptiveness that they had on the defense. I did want to point out that the Knicks, they did out rebound OKC 48-38. They did out assist them with the assist 23-21. They did have 3 blocks to OKC. OKC had none. The Knicks only had 13 turnovers, which isn't bad considering they've had games where they've had a lot more. And the points off the turnovers, the Knicks led in that category as well, 23-14. As well as fast break points, the Knicks have 14 to OKC's 2. Points in the paint, the Knicks uh, scored in that category as well. They 46 to OKC's 20. So, and the largest lead was 15 for OKC. To Knicks only had a 4 point lead, but the largest for OKC was 15.
yeah.
Um, so that shows, if you look at the stats, that the Knicks, if OG would have hit that 3, the Knicks would have won. And I didn't, you know what? I didn't even feel a type of way, honestly. Whether it was OG, whether it was Josh Hart, whether it was Shamit, I would have been happy with either one of them shooting that three at the end of the game, so because they're all capable of hitting that top of the key three. I probably would say maybe Josh or Shamit probably would have had a better, higher percentage chance of making it, as OG is more from that corner three like Mikel. But either way, they all are more than capable of knocking down that last second 3-point shot, for that game. But
And,
nonetheless, I thought that that was a pretty solid game by the Knicks. Like I felt good afterwards. I wasn't so like, damn, they should. I was like, you know what, this wasn't that bad of a loss for them. So kudos to the Knicks for hanging in that one.
yeah, and that's why I said I think if this was earlier in the season, I wouldn't feel this way.
Yeah,
So because of where they're at, and they do get to meet OKC again, yeah, if they win, great. But I just like just where they're going. And Cat played, a hell of a game to me. He had 17 points and 17 boards.
yeah,
He was 7 for 8, so his efficiency right there, maybe he should have got more involved, 7 to 8, because he had the hot hand for the most part. So hell, maybe even that play, it was 6 seconds. You know, maybe Shamman should have took a corner three. So there's a lot of maybes and what ifs and X, Y, and Z. But just overall, like I said, they lost, but I could live with that loss. Because they competed.
right. And it's true. It's like we always say a win is a win, and we would have rather take the win. But I think it's the fashion and the way that they lost. It's not as disheartening,
Yeah.
in the way that they lost that game against OKC. But I think you bring up a good point about Cat, and I was listening to Dope Soul Sports Collective. Love, love, love that show. And I heard Steph say to Nick Nation and Jeff, shout out to Jeff, happily ever clapter, and Nick Nation as well. And one of the things she mentioned was, she said, I feel like I've given up on Cat should be getting the ball more. Um, and basically the way the offense is being ran. And one of the things she pointed out was, and I said, I'm going to keep an eye on it. But she was like, when Brunson has the ball, she said, I think Brunson and Josh Hart have some type of like um, buddy system thingy going on. Cause she said they pass the ball to each other and Cat will be wide open. And she said she notices like they'll pass the ball to OG before they pass it to Cat. And um, I think that's a good point that she brought up because I'm like, maybe Mike Brown doesn't want this offense ran like that. Maybe he doesn't want it ran two things. Maybe Mike Brown doesn't want the offense ran where we feeding it to the big man Cat and he gets the ball and we let him go to work. And the other part of that is maybe he doesn't want it ran where it's very isocentric of Brunson just running the ball and having to score. Not to say he doesn't want Brunson to score, but he doesn't want it to be heavy. Brunson has the ball and he has to score, and it's like everybody else falls back to the side. So I said, it had me thinking, and I said, you know what, in a way, maybe there's a method to his madness. His grade I gave him for our midseason grade still stands as a question mark asterisk next to it. But and I think also in due time, this two things, this West Coast road trip coming up, and I think the postseason is gonna really show, okay, what changes has Mike Brown and the coaching staff made. But if he's going in a trajectory where I think he is, I think what Mike Brown is doing may be to the Knicks' advantage. I'm gonna rewind it back when we had Isaiah Hartenstein, and Tibbs would rotate Hartenstein and Robinson. We had DiVincenzo, and remember the Knicks when the Knicks were playing really well, as we've seen this year as well. I used to always harp on the lives like, yo, if the Knicks would move the ball and when they're cutting, and Isaiah Hartenstein is a great passer, as Carl Anthony Towns is as well. the Knicks looked great. They were unstoppable. And I used to say, like, that unselfish basketball is what is going to help the Knicks go far. Flash forward to now, I think that that's what Mike Brown is trying to do. I think he wants it to be a collective thing, like a team effort. I don't think he wants it. Now, some nights here, you may have a night like last night where OG is just hot
Yeah.
as, as a teammate. You realize who has the hot hand, you're passing that guy
Mhm.
the ball. Okay, cool. But I think but still, even with OG being hot, it was still a team collective effort. Everybody who played in that game last night against Denver scored.
Yeah.
The C squad even looked great. Daddy A was out on fire. I said, look
You see,
at him shooting threes and knocking them down.
well,
You
you got
know, so yeah, and then even Kolick, who had 8 assists, and that little bit of time he played, he had 8 assists.
yeah.
But I think the way Mike Brown wants the offense to be ran, I think he wants it to be a collective team effort, kind of like when you look at like the Warriors when they were in their prime. It was a collective effort. Everybody was doing a little bit of something to get them past that hump of every team on a night in, night out basis and through the postseason. And to me, when the Knicks play the way they played last night against Denver, when they played a few nights ago against Toronto, when they played before that, when they played the last meeting that they had against Philly, that was a collective effort. Unselfish basketball,
Mhm.
movement without the ball,
Yeah.
guys attacking the boards and rebounding, and Josh not being hesitant and shooting the ball. You know, starters could sit down and rest because Mike Brown feels comfortable. I can bring in a B squad and look at the way they look, staying ready, being ready, next man up mentality. So I'm just curious, what are your thoughts on that? Because I think that maybe that's what Mike Brown wants. I don't think he wants it where pick and roll, we feed it to Cat and let Cat dribble it down and then shoot, or let Brunson do. I don't think he wants that. I think he wants it where everybody is involved because it makes the defense have to work versus
Yeah.
if you just
Yeah.
got to focus on Brunson or you just got to focus on Cat. When you got guys like Shaman and OG and McKell hot, now the defense has to work more. So I don't know. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah. No, that's definitely like plausible because it's like you said, now the defense got to react and rotate to this man. But it's like the scheme that he drew up, you know. So I mean that's definitely plausible because you don't want one guy, and I think he's also could be he's trying to get the ball like out of Brunson's hands so much because he playing too much ISO. So it's like you break him out. I don't want to say break him out of that habit, but kind of like get the ball out of his hand and like trust your teammates. There's guys that you can rely on. Like I mean, because let's face it, OG's your third option, and hell, sometimes he's your second option. If Cat is struggling and where he's in the foul troubles, and so and OG like I think he's a bona fide scorer.
Yeah.
I mean, I truly believe that, and the more he's involved, the better you're gonna get from him. It's like if he's engaged, this and locked in, man. Watch out, man. So I just like what you said about like how Brown is, what he's doing, and then it sounds like great.
Yeah, I think the talent is on this team. I just think the issue is,
Oh,
as
for
we keep
sure.
reiterating, it's players like some nights on Mikel or OG, even Cat, they could be streaky. It's one thing you have an off night or here or there, but sometimes they can be very up and down. And that's the issue where kind of going reiterating what you were saying. That's why sometimes you have to have a player like OG where sometimes you got to be the second option because maybe Mikel is having a quiet night or he's not being as assertive and aggressive in a
Yeah.
game, or maybe Cat is allowing the no call fouls to get to him and it's taking him somewhat out of game, and maybe it may
Mm,
take him to the third or fourth quarter to catch up and get into the game and contribute. So I think that that's probably why Mike Brown wants the offense to be a collective effort of guys contributing to the game and for the Knicks to be, successful in the long run because honestly speaking, yes, Brunson, I think this teaches Brunson, as we said this like 2 seasons ago, it teaches Brunson to have a better sense of balance. Because as a point guard, you have to have the balance of scoring, which Brunson, we know he's capable of doing, but also facilitating, both of which he's capable of doing. But you got to have that balance of, okay, when my team needs me to go off and when I need to be a
Mm-hmm.
facilitator, passer, and find guys. And that's the way the Knicks are going to be contenders and be able to compete and get those wins. It can't be a very heavy Brunson centric or Carl Anthony Towns centric offense. That's just not going to, it's not, that to me is not going to work for the Knicks, and I think there are still some games in this regular season that I think as Knicks fans, we can agree the Knicks didn't match up. Cleveland,
Yeah.
and you still kind of have those question marks, and then, you know, Jason Tatum is back. And I had a feeling that this was going to happen. So now you got to worry about his ass back on Boston, and now you got Cleveland. And then what was the other team that, oh,
Detroit.
Detroit.
Yeah.
Right. So these are like the teams that still you got to wonder, well, can the Knicks match
Pacers.
up and the Pacers, who can't even win again. Right. And the Knicks are going to be meeting with them soon next week. So the talent is there. The
Yeah, for sure.
roster is there for the Knicks to make things happen, right? There's not going to be no such thing as a perfect roster, but the Knicks have the talent to get far and to go to the finals. But I think that it's going to have to happen with a better flow offense, selfless basketball, and it has to happen in these games that we've seen where the Knicks have just played like they've been playing together for 20 years together. You know what I mean? Like these guys are just moving without the ball, making selfless passes, taking charges. Guys are just being aggressive and doing all the other little things as well. That to me is what's going to take the Knicks far, and I think that that's what Mike Brown. And on honesty, I think that that's what he wants. I think
Yeah.
that that's how he wants the offense to move. And as far as the defense, I still have some concerns because even last night in the Denver game, which the Knicks did beat Denver in a
Beat the
dominant
brakes.
fashion, right? Beat the brakes or belt to ass, as they like to say, 142 to 103. Now the Knicks sit at 41 and 23. Um, like I said, the Knicks seem very comfortable playing Denver. They seem to have their number. And also, what was really impressive was that the Knicks outscored Denver in three from the second quarter to the fourth quarter. First quarter, they only got outscored by two. But I thought that this was a really good game by the Knicks and the way they played. Um, and like I said, everybody who played in this game scored. Mitchell Robinson had 13 points. Landry Shamet had 10. Jose Alvarado 4. Jordan Clarkson 7 minutes, 7 points. Tyler Kolek 9 minutes, 2 points, 8 assists. Ariel Huckporty had 2 points. Mohamed Diarra 4 points. Jeremy Sohan 2. Daddy 11 points. He was 3 for 3 from the 3 point line, 4 for 5 for his field goals. Jalen Brunson, quiet night for him, but had 15 assists, 9 points. Mikal Bridges 9 points, 4 assists. Carl Anthony Towns finished with a double double, 17 points, 13 rebounds. He was 2 for 3 from the free throw line. Didn't do well from the 3 point line. He was 1 for 4, but still a solid game from him. OG Ananobi just went off and literally snapped against the Denver Nuggets at 34 points. He was 11 for 17, 6 for 11 from the 3 point line, 6 for 6 from the free throw line. He had 7 rebounds, 5 assists, 4 steals, and a block.
And did all of that in what, 30? How many minutes did
32
he play?
minutes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Josh Hart played 25 minutes at 18 points. He was 2 for 4 from the 3 point line, 5 rebounds, 2 assists, 8 for 12, field goal percentage wise. When Josh just plays and gets back to being tough and gritty, he's unstoppable. And apparently he needs to keep doing that because teams aren't respecting Josh and his shooting. You know what I mean? So he has to keep being an enforcer in that regard. And also doing the other little things as well. Like don't complain as much, just get back down and do what you need to do. The Knicks' largest lead was 42.
Yeah,
They outscored Denver in points in the paint 76 to 46. They outbeat them in the fast break points 22 to 8. Points off turnovers, they had 24 to Denver's 11. The Knicks only had 10 turnovers. They had 11 steals to Denver's only 6. Knicks had 4 blocks, Denver had 1. 44 assists for the Knicks, 30 for Denver. Defensive rebounds, the Knicks had 36 to Denver's 23. Same thing with offensive rebounds, 14 to Denver's 8. And the Knicks out rebounded Denver completely, 50 to 31. And also, not to mention, Denver didn't even have an answer for Mitchell Robinson. When I watched that game, Jokic, he whines like a baby. He reminds me of Embiid, flailing his hands up, complaining. And I'm like, dude, there wasn't no foul. Why are you complaining? And I'm reading some of these articles, and people were saying, well, it seemed like Denver collapsed once Jamal Murray went down with his ankle injury. I don't know. I think if he was still in the game, it would have been the same outcome.
yeah. Probably not a large margin like that, but the Knicks, the Knicks are just a better matchup with teams. Look at the Spurs. We got the Spurs number. Yet the Spurs have beaten OKC. Denver, we've beaten them twice already. Um, just certain teams that just better matchups for them. So I think the Knicks would have definitely won that game without a doubt. Probably not that margin probably wouldn't have been so large, but yeah, I had no doubt they wouldn't have won, or they wouldn't have lost or whatever. So. Um, but
Yeah.
yeah, you got to show the bench some love, man. That bench was 55-33. Man, like what?
Came in like soldiers ready to go to war. Like
Yeah,
they didn't look lost. They were like locked in, like their training is A1. Like they came in and I was like, watching the game, I was like, wow, look at them. Cause normally when teams bring in that BC squad, the opposing team that's down is able to find a way to kind of close the deficit.
yeah,
But they just was like, I mean, even just the way they were hustling, almost like the Knicks, you would have thought they were down, the way that the B squad, C squad was out there. And I was like, wow, look at the way they were in their place defensively. They were in their right spots offensively, the way they were moving the ball. Kudos to them for realizing Daddy A had the hot hand and they were
mhm,
able to keep feeding him the ball. I was just like, damn, even the way Jordan Clarkson was hustling, I was like, yo, they were just like locked in. I mean, and a lot of times you watch the guys on the bench are really watching a game. Like when the camera pans to them, I'm watching them and I'm like, these guys are really into it, and they're celebratory, they're hyping the guys up. But I mean, kudos to the Sohans and the Daddy A's and the Koleks just coming out there and just doing their job,
yeah,
and just looking good at doing it.
yeah, for sure. I tell this Knicks team, man. It's like it forces you into a love hate relationship. When they're
Right.
good, you love them, and when they're bad, like and when they losing, and just when you feel they're not competing, like you hate them. So, but as a fan, you're going to go through that, like those ups and downs. That's a part of being a fan, and you just got to just take the good with the bad. But yesterday, man, that was that game. It's like it's sort of you see the potential for the playoffs. You know,
Right.
it, because you know that yeah they might have beaten Denver twice in that you know good matchup, and OG had a he's somebody say he must love the Mile High City because with the altitude. Well, if that's what it is, then so be it. But take that away, it's just you again. You see the potential for the playoffs because what we have like 18 games left.
That's the
Um,
bad.
yeah, so and they if they could just stay on that upward, climb, they I don't think Boston's so much of a threat. Even with Tatum back, we beat them last year, so like you're not gonna fear him because he's back, So and it's
Right.
just preparing them for the most part.
Yeah. I still am a firm believer. I think this Knicks team right now, they're at a simmer. And when they get to the postseason, starting that first round, they're going to start to get to a bit of a boil. Or I should say, right now, they're sauteing. And then when they get to that round one, they're going to start to simmer. And then they're just going to keep building up. You know what I mean? And I think that they are going to be able to. I'm confident in that this Knicks team will be able to turn it up in
Oh,
the
for sure.
postseason and bring that next level of basketball intelligence and IQ and hustle and grit and aggressiveness that's going to be needed. And I'm a firm believer, and I agree in that, and I think this was a good breakdown by Steph, how she mentioned it. I don't think that Brown wants the offense ran how some of us Knicks fans are saying, well, why don't we feed? Now, do I think some games, yes, you got to feed Cat the ball, because when you don't do that, you leaving out that option of getting those easy in the paint buckets or stopping the clock so he can get to the free throw line, which he's a pretty good free throw shooter. And it's just like yesterday. Kudos to the Knicks for realizing that the paint was wide open. They were able to get Mitchell Robinson easy alley oops because Denver just had no one there to even stop him. So
Mhm.
the awareness and noticing that is what I love. But I want to kind of go back to OG Ananobi and why I think OG Ananobi. A lot of times we talk about how it's important for Carl Anthony Towns to be that B guy, that second guy, and he has to be aggressive, right? Which I still stand by that. I think also OG Ananobi needs to be in that question and equation as well. Because ever since he came to this team, he's been a difference maker. When
Oh,
he's
for
in, the
sure.
Knicks are highly likely to win. But when he's streaky and not playing well, then we have issues. But I
Yeah,
think it's so important that OG, not only the remainder of the season, but specifically for the playoffs, OG has to play phenomenal every game. He has to really give us a high level of basketball play, defensively and offensively, for the Knicks to be successful.
yeah, yeah,
I'm sorry, but just having it be on two guys, whether it's a combination of Brunson and Cat, Brunson and OG, Brunson and Mikel, it's not going to be enough because the defense is going to read that. And what I'm noticing this year is that a lot of teams have figured out how to slow Brunson down. Brunson is still able to score, but it may take him, he may be locked out that first half. He may have to go harder starting the second half in that third quarter because teams have figured it out. And what I'm noticing is when the Knicks are on offense, and I've noticed this when we played not so much in OKC, a little bit, but more so like Detroit. And I noticed when we played another team, the way these teams are playing the Knicks defensively, it's almost like they're making the Knicks bunch up next to each other while the Knicks are on offense, that the Knicks can't even move the ball around because they're too busy trying to set screens for Brunson that y'all all are so next to each other. How could he pass the ball to anybody? Because when he turned around, now he can't even make the pass, a bounce pass, a trespass, whatever kind of pass, or now he got to throw something overhead and throw it all the way to the corner to somebody, Mikel Shaman. And I'm like, teams have figured out how to slow Brunson down. So when I look at the offense, and it goes back to what we were saying about Brown, this is why Brown don't want it to be heavy one person on the offense. He needs it to be a collective effort for them to be successful and to score. But going
yeah.
back to what I was about to say about OG and why I think he's a very important factor along with Carl Anthony Towns is that what OG does really well that a lot of other guys, minus Brunson, doesn't do. And I promise you, I need the chat to really pay attention to this. You notice this because when I'm watching I watch like I'm looking at sometimes I catch the shot late because I'm looking at who's doing what offensively, who's doing what on the defense. I'm looking at where they stand and like, okay, I want to break it down in that way. I'm a very visual learner. But what OG does when he gets the ball, and this is what throw teams off, unlike I watch like, and I'll kind of add Shamit to the equation too, because Shamit's pretty good at doing this as well. OG gets the ball, he doesn't look to throw it back out. Not because he's being selfish. His mind frame of thinking, I need to score.
Yep, and he goes into attack mode.
In attack mode. That's what you need more. Like Mikel, I want Mikel to be like that. Mikel, he'll get it at the free throw line area. He'll turn around. Now he's holding the ball by the lower abdomen area, sometimes by his knee. And then okay, he'll get it off to Brunson. Now it's like Brunson kind of gotta go to work. Maybe Brunson will find, maybe Shamit is open, whoever. Okay. Sometimes it works. Cause sometimes I'll look and I'm like, well, damn, well, you was right there. And Mikel is Mr. Mid-range. Why don't you just take the shot? But he'll rather pass it back out. And again, I don't know if maybe this is Brown's part of his schemes. Maybe he's like, pass it back out, set it back up. And a lot of times, the last few games I've noticed is they'll kick it out. Shamma to take one dribble, he'll get the shot down. Or they'll kick it out and maybe Carl Anthony Towns, which I'm sorry, but that Carl Anthony Towns teams have read that. That's not going to work in a postseason because when he does it, it's too slow. And I don't know if it's the way he drives to the basket that he's not getting the calls. He looks a little uncontrolled and just flailing all over the place. And sometimes even the way he falls, he's just rolling across the floor, when he does get the foul. But OG is so critical because it's like he's looking at where he can zigzag in and to go in the lane and just attack, like you said, and score. And you get sometimes hard to do it, sometimes Mikel, but nowhere near to the degree of the way OG Anunoby does it. And I think that that's another point of attack that I'm hoping Mike Brown and the coaching staff is reiterating and keep, putting into these guys' heads that we need you to attack the basket. That I'm telling you, in the playoffs, that's not going to work. That all the time you take a few dribbles, and okay, maybe the defense stops you, so you do have to pass it back out. But there's times where, like Josh Hart, I'll see where he's wide open. He won't even look at the basket. And you'll hear Clyde say it a lot. He'll be like, "Whoa, you right at the basket."
Yeah.
I don't get these guys. And I'll see Josh Hart, he'll get the ball around above that free throw line area. Um, Josh does it, Mikel does it a lot. And then they won't even look at the basket. They'll turn around and pass it back out. And I'm like, why? Why would you rather settle for a further shot instead of taking something closer? You have Mitchell Robinson or Cat right there to help you out with the rebound.
Yeah.
So it's just very mind-boggling to me that that's the way the Knicks still play their offense. And I don't think that that's something to me. I hope that they can figure out how to change and be more aggressive in attack. But OG is pivotal as well as Karl Anthony Towns. And I don't think OG is being talked about enough as far as he also as well is a crucial piece to the Knicks being successful in the postseason.
Oh, for sure, no doubt. Like I said, when OG when he's locked in, like just offensively, like he's locked in, and then like you got to know he's tasked to guard 1 through 5. So his job and his load is heavy. You know, we're asking him to defend the best player or guard your biggest player. Now we you want him to score because this is what you paid for. So he's just as crucial as like you said, Cat and Brunson because of what his job his responsibility entails. Um,
Right.
so he's a crucial piece, and for me, you gotta keep him engaged just as well as you're running the. I can't say Cat, but just as much as like as Brunson touch. You ask me, He needs to
Right.
get as many touches as the next man. You
Yeah.
know.
I shout out to the chat for you guys joining us. The usuals, those who are silent watchers, the replay gang as well. And those of you who are not in the chat, shout out to you as well. Shout out to Eddie C said, one observation, only one player shows up when we play elite teams. We need more than one player to show up. I agree. And that's why I was saying that having usually it's like a two-man lineup that shows up. Usually it is one who will like blow everyone out the water, and then you have usually another one. But I would still rather see when we look at the stats at the end of the night, having several guys in double figures or who contributed versus just having Brunson who's going to give you 48, 45 points, but then we lose, or we barely won the game. And it's like, yeah, but that took load management on one player just to get the job done. The Knicks are
Yeah.
not going to be successful that way. But
Yeah.
I do agree that that is something that needs to be changed with this Knicks team is only really one guy showing up, maybe two when you need a collective effort. And I think that that's what Mike Brown is leaning towards. I think he wants it to be more than one, two guys who are showing up every night and having more guys who are stepping up to the plate and could contribute, on any given night. But that is a good observation. I do agree with that. Eddie C again says Shamit must start so we don't fall behind. I think this is a good comment because I keep hearing and seeing in other Knicks content creators chats where a lot of people feel like Shamit should start and Josh Hart should come off the bench. Now, I don't know what's the reasoning behind Josh Hart starting. I don't know if it's because maybe they want, I don't know, maybe the grittiness and the toughness that Josh brings. But to me, Shamit is a great defender as well as he gives you the offense. And I think I don't think, but Shamit's shooting is a lot better than Josh Hart. And he's gonna be more confident in shooting the ball over Josh Hart as well. Um, and I've seen in games where even Shamit is the one tucked underneath the basket and getting us the rebounds as well. So me personally, I do think that it should be Shamit starting because you can utilize the shooting and another scorer on the floor as a starter and then
Mm.
bring Josh Hart in and then you could, interchange them in and out. What are your thoughts on that?
You know, it's so ironic. I read something. I think it was even maybe Brown addressed that a few games ago. I think when Josh Hart wasn't starting, and then when he put him in the starting lineup, I think the Knicks were like 15 or something when he started, as opposed to when he didn't. So that was one of the reasons why he elected to start Hart. Um, I don't know. I mean, because I feel like you need that person come off the bench and like, and I don't know if Hart can give you that boost that Shamit is giving you. So I mean, I think like that saying, if it's not broke, don't fix it. So I mean,
Right.
I think when Shamit comes in, like you're gonna get like that instant offense. And then now, even on the defensive end, because Shamit, he's not afraid of the contact.
No, at
So
all.
I don't I like where they're at, as far as like Hearts like starting, because I don't know. Yeah, I just like when Shamit comes in. He's like a ball of like just like yo, I'm ready. Like you said, he's always ready, so he don't have to get ready. So
Hmm.
I like him coming off the bench.
Yeah, I think Brown likes to start Josh because Josh brings a different level of energy
Yeah.
that is infectious on the team and the way they play. So Josh alters the way the Knicks play. Believe it or not, he is the difference maker in the pace, the energy, and how they're getting up and down the floor, being disruptive as well on defense. So I think that, I can see why they do start Josh over starting Shamit, but I agree with you. I guess they're under that impression of like, well, no, if it's not broke, don't fix it. So keep it the way it is. But either way, I think that both will be able to play. And you know what? That's where I think again the remaining games that we have in a regular season, as well as in the postseason, I think a lot of us Knicks fans are going to really be looking at Mike Brown and his adjustments in games, the plays that he's calling in games,
Mm-hmm.
and are they beneficial? And is the timing is, you know what I mean? Like, what is he doing to make these changes? Because if you, all I'm saying, and I'm going to say this right now, Mike Brown better not piss me off. You can't do what you did against Detroit and, you know, have Brunson guarding Cade. Now, it's different in Denver where at times you saw Brunson was guarding Jokic, but that was
Mm-hmm.
because the way the screens and then Brunson ended up on him. That's different. But in
Yeah,
Detroit, Brunson was full court on Cade. And I'm like, why haven't you changed that? You did that the
yeah,
last two matchups and you haven't made any changes. So Mike Brown, I'm really looking to see, well, what the hell is he going to do and make these changes, in the postseason? Because you can't keep doing the same thing 3 games and then you want to change it in the fourth game. It's too
yeah,
late.
for sure.
And, you know, I don't know.
And
I think,
he's done a great job, for the last, I would say going back to the Milwaukee game, just the adjustment. Excuse me. And if he could just stay with whatever he's doing, because
mhm,
it's working. Like I said, that OKC ad, you flush that down the toilet, reset. So I like what he's doing in like the schemes that he's running. Like I said, they just is I see a lot of potential there for the playoffs.
yeah, same for sure. Eddie C says when OG plays well, he justifies the RJ trade for sure.
Yeah, yeah,
For sure,
definitely.
because there was a lot of Knicks fans who was like, yeah, why are we giving him all of this money? But OG's worth the money. I mean, him and Josh Hart are difference makers, and they make a difference in this team on many different levels. So when they're out, you feel the effects when they're out. Whether it's injury, whatever, you feel the difference that, you know, is this when they're not playing. Eddie said, when will Mitch load management end? We need him every game. Now, this is something that I had brought up was one of my concerns with the Knicks going in the playoffs is how are the Knicks going to do this whole Mitchell Robinson load management? When you get to the first round, okay, you play Mitchell Robinson the first game. The second game is not of the first round. It's not going to be the next day. It's not going to be back to back. It's usually every other game, every other day, excuse me. So if you play Mitchell Robinson the first game, you're not going to play him the second game, but then you're going to play him the third game. But what if that second game you need Mitchell Robinson on the floor? You can't keep tiptoeing to try to keep Mitchell Robinson. I don't know if their plan is, well, we gonna try to preserve Mitchell Robinson and keep him as healthy as possible until we get to the, I don't know, maybe the Eastern Conference Finals or the finals, because it seems like that's what the Knicks are doing. And I don't think that that's a Mike Brown call. I think that's upper management call. They probably was like, no, 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 we're not playing him every game because we need him to last us, and because we're trying to go farther than we did last year. So we're not doing that because he's too fragile body wise, his joints and stuff. So they don't need Mitchell Robinson tweaking anything, and then he's out. So I think that came from Leon and the gang, and they was like, yeah, no, you're not playing him every game. We need him to be on, and maybe medical staff was like, yeah, this way he stays healthy every other game. But my thing is, and I'm curious as well as what the chat thinks, is how does that work in the playoffs?
Yeah, no, I think they definitely trying to preserve him, but for as far as they go, because their goal is Eastern Conference Finals, and then boom. So I
Mhm.
think he's definitely going to stay on that. Now they call it injury management. They don't name a new name, but either way, low injury. I think they're still going to keep Mitch on, especially if you haven't heard anything other like, oh, Mitch is going to be playing every game. Brown hasn't made any changes or whispers about it. Like he's going to be available X, Y, and Z. So I think they're definitely going to keep him on. That schedule that he's currently on, because again, you want to preserve him for deeper into the playoff run.
But do you think that's going to hurt the Knicks in the playoffs, playing him every other game in
Well, the
each
playoffs
series
is a
that they
thing. I mean, that's it. I think probably when they get there, I think they're gonna.
he'll be available to play every game?
Yeah, or like that they it's situational. It, the Knicks took command there. If they took game 1 and 2, and we'll just play them three. So because they took game 1 and 2, what I'm saying. Especially if they got that home court advantage, um, and they're just it's probably gonna be situational. I'm okay with that. As long as they're winning, and if they get into the playoffs, I think that's gonna be a whole different story.
Hmm.
But I think they're just gonna just ride it out with where he's at.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that I'm curious how that spans out. Like, do they make that call in the postseason? Say, okay, we're going to play Mitchell Robinson situationally, but it's not going to necessarily be every other game. Because to
Hmm.
me, I think that can cost them at the end if you want to play him every other game. I don't think that that's smart to necessarily do. So I'm just curious to see how that pans out with this team moving forward. Eddie said, "What's happening? I don't get notifications of upcoming program. I'm not sure why."
Probably
Um,
check to see if you subscribe. Double
no,
check.
he's subscribed. He's not getting the notifications like at the top of his
Oh,
phone to let him know we're live.
wow.
Yeah,
Hmm.
I know. That's maybe check to see if your notifications on. I don't know why is it doing that. That's strange. Um, but yeah, he said we should be able to win 14 of the remaining 19 games. Yeah, I agree. The Lakers just beat the Pacers.
Yeah.
So why can't the Knicks?
And we play them back to back. Well, just about a back to back. We got them on the 13th, and then again on the 17th. One at Pacers, and then they come back home. So yeah,
Yeah. Anna Girl, one salute to you. He said good evening.
salute.
He said, I think Mitch plays every game in the playoffs, no back-to-back games.
Yeah, definitely. If they get and when they get that deep in the playoffs, that's because that's probably why they keep him on that minutes restriction and every other game and no back to backs, because they're planning on a deep run.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I think that I just hope that that is the case when the playoffs come and that he is playing, he's available for every game in each series because that's going to be a difference maker. Um, okay, so the Knicks play the Lakers tomorrow. Then they play Monday against the Clippers. Play again on Wednesday against Utah, and then they finish out uh, their road trip on Friday, next Friday against Indiana. So that's 4 games. They play tomorrow, and then they have a back to back. They play on Monday against the Clippers, so both LA teams. Play again on Wednesday against Utah, and then on Friday against the Pacers. What are your predictions for those 4 games?
Wait,
Lakers,
wait.
Clippers.
I want to put a cork in that. I was gonna touch on that. I know you was getting ready to close out. Remember we did you send me something about Mitch, how he doesn't his free throws. Remember he he practices him, but he don't like they don't he don't shoot the what was the article? Didn't you send that to me
Mm-mm.
about
You was the one who brought that up about you asked me, you mentioned a comment, you made a comment saying something to the degree of like, are the coaches not working with Mitchell Robinson on his free
yeah,
throw?
yeah, and then he was saying um he practiced them and
Oh, lost Steve Locks. She'll be back. But yeah,
yeah,
we had lost you. What you say?
okay, he practiced them in in the in practice, but he don't like shoot, like they don't want him shooting like the offense like us, so so that with the what's what we call it, the hacker Mitch or whatever. So I gotta look that article up. I want to bring that back up. I mean, if the chat, I know somebody must have heard about it in the chat about
So they
how
he practices his free throws in practice, but they don't want him shooting
and
field goals.
and he hits them, um, but he's not, or rather on his own. But he doesn't really work with the in like when he's practicing with the Knicks. Like he's that's not what he's primarily working on when he's practicing with the team. Like he's
Hmm.
not really working on his free throws, so he does it like on his own with his coach.
Hmm.
You know,
That's
it's like
interesting.
yeah, yeah. That's what it was. He was saying he don't practice when he's with the team.
He don't
Um,
practice his free throws.
yeah, but when he's with his coach, his own. They all got their own personal, coaches. He works on that. And
Right.
I said, wow. I said, that's interesting. Like, how was that even allowed? You're not working on your free throws, at the facility, you know?
Yeah, I know, considering that is strange because it's not like you got to give up the facility or quickly like the New York Liberty only have a certain amount of time to practice because usually they have to give it up there the facility to maybe they have a performance or whatever going on at Barclays. Um, but yeah, that's very interesting that he doesn't do that. I mean, Mitchell Robinson has looked better this year hitting the free throws. He's going 1 for 2 at least. But I don't know. I'm not sure why, it's kind of like when Isaiah Hartenstein was on the team and he said in his exit interview to a reporter, to the press, Tibbs didn't want him shooting threes.
Yeah,
So that's very interesting to hear that. I don't know. I guess with every coach, there's different things that they want, kind of how we alluded to with Mike Brown with the offense and how he wants it to be a collective effort and not very isocentric on one particular player. But still, I don't understand that with the whole free throw thing. So I don't know. That's a good point. But yeah, when you find the article, definitely like we could talk about it on the next show because I'm really curious and as to why is that, you know.
definitely. Sure.
Um Pacers are not a playoff team, so no opportunity for get back this season. Yeah, they're not a playoff team, but yet the Knicks lost to them. So that's a little concerning how you let a team who barely have won any games this year beat you. And quite honestly, the same way the Knicks look comfortable playing against Denver is the way the Indiana Pacers look playing against the Knicks. Very comfortable and confident, like they have their number.
Yeah, the
And I don't
Pacers.
know if it's because they beat them last year and they're just like, yeah, got this. But the Knicks have no answer for Pascal Siakam. Can't stop him for the life of anything. So yeah, like Eddie said, we cannot handle Siakam. The Knicks cannot handle him. They can't
Yeah,
stop it.
yeah, and that's concerning because it's just like
More Steve Locks again. But yeah, the Knicks, they can't handle Siakam. There's nobody to stop Siakam. I see OG playing defense on him, but I don't know. It just doesn't look like it's enough. It's weird. And OG is a good defender, but Siakam just he can't be stopped. He does whatever he wants against the Knicks, and no one's to stop him. So, I hear what you're saying, Anna Girl One, but the Knicks, you shouldn't be losing to a team that is struggling and can't even buy a win. Like the Lakers just beat them the other day, yesterday. So, you know, but speaking of the Lakers, the Knicks are playing them tomorrow. It's an early game, 1:30. Um, so it's gonna be an early game for me. It'll be morning time for me, the start time. Um, Listen, the last time we played the Lakers, did we beat them or did we lose? Let me see. We beat them 100 to 112. That was February 1st. So they're going to be home. They're going to be confident. Luca's going to bitch and whine about every foul call he's going to want. We'll see how the refs call the game and how their whistle is. Um, but yeah, the Knicks, they play tomorrow and then again on Monday, both LA teams. Wednesday against Utah, and then they play Friday against the Pacers. I'm gonna have the Knicks. My prediction is the Knicks go. Hmm, I'm gonna go 3-1 because I'm not sure with the Clippers, and I'm not sure with Indiana if the Knicks will be able to rebound and have an answer and bounce back and not let one of those games slip from them. Either way, I would like to see the Knicks close out this road trip on a high note and have more wins than losses. So I'm gonna have them at 3-1. What's your predictions? I can't hear you. I don't know why your sound. I could see your lips. You're not frozen, but I don't know if the chat can hear you, but I can't hear you. No, I'm not sure if the chat can, but it's like you're muted, but I can see your lips moving. I'm not sure what happened to your audio. It's weird. But yeah, hopefully Block's sound will come back on. Yeah, I got them 3-1 because I'm not really sure which game the Knicks are gonna drop, or maybe just not have any energy. Maybe an off night. That's fine. It's gonna happen. But I would like to see them go 3-1. I see a win tomorrow against LA. I see a win against the Clippers. But we'll see. Utah, that should be an easy win. And honestly, Indiana should be a win. The Knicks will face off against Indiana again that following Tuesday. They'll be at the Garden. So, either way, the Knicks gotta figure out how to beat these guys, and get that win against them. And then I would say after this road trip that the Knicks have, you gotta rack up the wins. You got the Warriors, Pacers again. Then they have Brooklyn, Washington. They got New Orleans, and then they have Charlotte, OKC again. This is at the end of the month. And then they play Houston again as well. So but I'll just stick to March. But they got to rack up some wins here. Is your sound still down? Yeah, it is. That's so weird. I don't know why your sound is out. Strange. Eddie said we can get past Utah. I agree. That should be a win. Anna Girl wants that the Clippers will be the toughest test. Yeah, I agree. Should we aim for second spot or be content with third place? I would say aim for the second spot. Either way, just don't slip past third. But if you can um, stick with second or third, I'm happy with that. Just don't slip past third place. With Cleveland and Boston right there on the Knicks' neck, this is why it's important for the Knicks to continue to keep winning. Um, so yeah, I would say either way. And either way, just be ready for the first round regardless. Because wherever you land at the end of the regular season, that's where you'll be facing off against whoever in the playoffs. So yeah, I think just don't slip past third, second or third to be fine. Utah and Pacers are trap games. Yeah. And I would add the Clippers in there too. Those are trap games that the Knicks have to be ready for. But this is the time at this end of the season for the Knicks to rack up wins. End off the regular season on the high note. Of course, we want guys to continue to stay healthy on the team. But I'm also looking to see the Knicks continue to play how they played against Denver. Unselfish basketball, moving without the ball, making it a collective effort and not a heavy isocentric on one player. And I don't mean, I think it's okay if you have a player like that did what like OG did, because if OG was effective on both ends of the floor. Um, but what I mean by ISO is OG's not going to really have ISO ball when he's on offense, eating up the clock, taking 14 seconds, dribbling the air out the ball, not doing anything. There's a difference between that and what sometimes you see what Brunson does. So with Brunson, I want to continue to see him work on balance, facilitating the ball. If you're off, fine. Do other things. Take charges, facilitate the ball, find guys, continue to motivate players and be that leader that the team needs. Get guys involved as well. And Cat, we need him to continue to be aggressive as well. And same thing with OG Ananobi. Need him to be aggressive. I think not a lot of people, as I said a few minutes ago on the show, I don't think a lot of people are talking about how OG Ananobi needs to be aggressive as well. So yeah, I don't know. I hope your volume is back.
Is it? You still
Yeah,
can't hear?
now it is. It just came back.
Yeah, I refreshed. I did something. Yeah, well, now I put in the chat. What I think about those next upcoming games. The Clippers, they did lose to the Spurs yesterday. The Pacers lost. So again, it's like you just take it one game at a time. You you can't look ahead. So, but like I said, the Pacers for me is a tough matchup for them. I don't know
Hmm.
what it is with those Pacers, man.
Yeah, hopefully the Knicks could turn the corner. That's what I'm looking for. Eddie C's said we must also rest Cat and Brunson, but how much rest? Because I don't think Brown is going to rest them. Maybe not play them as many minutes or lessen the minutes some, but he's not going to rest them because you know you also want to try to get a few more wins than you got last year in the regular season. And then you gotta, this is a good time with these last 18 games or so for the Knicks to figure out how to play that unselfish basketball that we've seen them do, but just not on a consistent basis.
Mhm.
And just as a team working on their consistency, working on their discipline, and not having it just be one guy who goes off, but having at least a three-man lineup or several guys in double figures. There's nothing wrong with that. And just as we saw the what was it, the BC squad yesterday, everyone looked great. Cole came in and had 8 assists. They all recognized that Pacome had the hot hand and was passing him the ball. They were hustling for every loose ball, grabbing rebounds, playing good defense. They didn't allow the lead deficit to go down and allow Denver to come back in it. They just were like ready, ready, ready. Like they had top tier training. You know what I mean? Like they were just ready to come in that game, and it looked the part. So we'll see what this next team does. I'm looking for them to go 3-1. Diva Locks has them as the same. Why play our top stars against the Nets? Well, I think you could start off playing a game with the starters, and that's where, again, I'm not just gonna put it on the starters. I think collectively as a team, get yourself to a nice lead. We know basketball is a game of runs, so that means nothing. But get yourself in a nice lead, put the nets away, and then you can have those BC guys come in and finish off the rest of the game. They can rest. So, if you got guys like Kolek, Sohan, Daddy A, Clarkson, and they could come in and be effective as they did against Denver, best believe Mike Brown's going to give them playing time. Not a whole bunch, but he's going to be more comfortable putting them in the game because they came in and was in correct positioning. They didn't look all over the place defensively. Denver
Well,
wasn't just coming in scoring at will. They were stopping them. The Knicks were playing like they were down and
yeah.
they were trying to close the margin. And I was like, wow, look at the way they playing back home shooting. I was like, and just the fact that the awareness in that game, the awareness early in the game when they kept finding Mitchell Robinson and feeding him to get that easy alley oop dunk basket. And then the awareness when those CBC guys came in and they're noticing Pacome had the hot hand and kept finding him and passing him the ball. Like that's what I mean about the collective effort that I believe Mike Brown is looking for. So, we'll see. And what I also like, and I mentioned this earlier in the show, is that I was saying this to Diva Locks that when you watch these guys on the bench, nobody has their head down. They actually, guys on the bench, when you look at the camera and it pans to the bench players, they're like looking at the game. They're studying what's going on. I guess because they're like, let me be ready. Let me be ready. Because you know what? Also, I think that plays a part in as a team. You don't want to be that guy on the team or those guys on the team that the guys who do get the playing time and are doing their jobs look at you like you coming in, you can't even get a rebound. You know what I mean? You can't even make a difference. You're not even in the right spot. And that's why you don't want to be the laughing stock on a team. So these guys are also showing that they want to they should be a Knickerbocker. They should be on the team, but just the hustle and just staying ready. And that's what you're going to need. Because quite frankly, I said this before. I think that's another thing that Mike Brown needs to do. You got to throw different lineups at these different teams in the playoffs. Shake it up. Don't be
Mm-hmm.
predictable. Because with Tibbs, that was something that used to annoy me. We were too predictable.
Sure.
And sometimes in games, I don't see it as much this season. I haven't seen it as much. Very seldom I've seen it, but I don't see as much when the Knicks are on offense. They're stagnant and nothing's not happening. So, and that's why I say OG is a pivotal part in this offense and the Knicks being successful in the postseason because OG is not afraid to take it to the basket.
Yeah, yeah. He drives. Yeah.
So, Nostalgic Nick 7 salutes you, said playoff ready, but I still don't trust Mike Brown. Yeah, I think, listen, Mike Brown, he's being looked at under a magnifier. He's being watched. Trust he's going to be watched because, like I said earlier, if he doesn't make adjustments and has this team playing, I don't care what round we in, and has them playing like we did against Detroit, he's out of there. Mike Brown will be fired if the Knicks lose in the second round. I think Mike Brown may be even fired if the Knicks don't make it to at least the Eastern Conference Finals.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anna Girl once said the shift with Brunson makes us less predictable. Hope it continues. Yeah. But I think that's what Brown wants. I don't think he wants it to be Brunson gets the ball and it's really just him going to work. I think here and there that's okay because Brunson is the type of player he can put the team on his back and get us back in the game. But I don't think Mike Brown wants that on the entire game, every
Mm-hmm.
game. He doesn't want it. He wants it to be a collective. I want to see multiple. Like I think also something else the Knicks are trying to. I think he's trying to get them to steer away from too is that whoever takes the ball out, they give it to Brunson. Brunson dribbles the ball up the floor and he just pops a three. You don't always need that. I don't know why he thinks popping a three is the answer all the time, but sometimes that's a wasted possession. Sure, he can make the threes, but you don't always need that. So I think what Mike Brown is really trying to get this team to do is play the way we seen them play against Denver yesterday, the way we seen them play against Toronto, the way we seen them play against Philadelphia when ball just the Knicks look like globetrotters out there, moving without the ball, passing the ball, taking charges, snatching the ball out of guys' hands, getting blocks, seeing the ball, seeing their man, interfering, getting steals. That's the way he wants them to play because now you make the defense have to work. Now the defense has to, okay, now I don't got to just focus on Brunson and maybe Cat. I got to look out for everybody because Shammy could come in and shoot.
Exactly.
Mikel could come in and shoot.
Mhm.
Mikel cutting to the basket. OG driving. You know what I mean? So now the defense has to work, and that's what's gonna help the Knicks go far.
Yeah, yeah.
It can't be like a one man, maybe two man show. It's okay if it happens where um, like I said, maybe you have a game where, like OG last night, he went off, but OG was effective on both ends of the floor. It can't be, and not to say Brunson can't be effective on both ends, but it can't be where Brunson has 45, 48 points, but we lost. Or even if we won, it's the manner and the fashion and how we won, So we'll see. I'm looking forward to how the Knicks continue on this path and the remainder of this West Coast. I don't know why I got so dark in here.
Yeah, you got dogs, so
I'm just like, it got stupid dark in here. I'm like, okay. I don't know. I'm curious to see how the Knicks finish off this trip. Um, and again, I'm looking for them to close off this West Coast trip strong. So 3-1. Let us know y'all predictions. Um, and yeah, that's it for me. Do you have anything else?
being one.
3-1. Yeah. 3-1 to finish off the rest of this West Coast road trip. I have the Knicks winning tomorrow. I would like to see the Knicks take a win. I don't know. It's something about when the Knicks play the Lakers in an early game. Sometimes those early games are tricky because the Knicks don't come out with the best energy. The Knicks have had a few slow starts in first quarters the last few games, but they've been able to regroup and straighten out the offense and the defense. So we'll see. Um, but yeah, no, for sure. I agree with this. The Knicks do need to get to the playoffs healthy for sure. Like that's gonna be key. And this is why Mitchell Robinson is on a every other game type of schedule. But anything else from you before we get out of here?
Do 3-1. I would like to do a 4, but eh.
Gotta be realistic. But I love the optimism. Um, but yeah, shout out to the chat for everybody joining us. Let's see who was here. Um, Anna Girl 1, Nostalgic Nick 7, Eddie, Eddie FICO, salute to you. Hit him up, NYNJ, salute to you as well. Blood Orange Tears, salute to Uncle Freezy. Uncle Freezy is like his channels like his shows come on like QVC channel. There's always something to watch. I love it though. But shout out to Uncle Freezy. Love his takes as well. Shout out to all the other Knicks content creators as well. Uncle Freezy from Blood Orange Tears. Shout out to Steph and Jeff over at the Steph and Jeff Show, aka Dope Soul Sports Collective. Shout out to them coming on. I like their morning analysis shows, as well as every Thursday as well. We got to get Steph on the show. We got to get some more people on the show as well, especially before the season closes out. Um, Shout out to Ron and John as still Knicks fans. Um, Shout out to Tony Crow and DJ Shuttle at Knicks and Bruises. And shout out to Sim over as well. And nothing but Knicks. So the fact that I remembered all those names, was impressive. But shout out to all of them because we do support and watch and listen to all the shows. It's nice to get a perspective from other Knicks content creators, and just really hear everybody's takes. Oh, and also shout out to Nick of Time because I also listen to them as well. And I'm sure there's more that are out there that I hear in the mix, but I haven't tuned into their shows just because I really haven't heard of them yet, or if they haven't come across my feed. So listen, I love to hear other people's takes. I love hearing comments from the chat as well and what you guys have to say. Pull up to All Ball TV. I will. I'll look out for it for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Definitely look
Wow.
out for All Ball TV. I'll keep that in mind. I'll look for it actually once we log off, to find it. You know, I like to listen to different Knicks content creators and different shows and hear what different people have to say. And we're not going to always agree, um, you know, on everybody's take, but it's sometimes it's nice to hear something different and refreshing, and it makes you think because you're like, wow, I didn't even think of that, you know? So shout out to you all, the silent listeners, the replay gang, um, our recurring uh, Two Nicks Chicks fan base as well. Shout out to you guys as well. If you guys haven't already, please hit the like button. If you're not already, subscribe to the channel as well and support all the Knicks content creators, right? A lot of you came over to us from, listening to Dope Soul Sports Collective. I forget what was her name of her show before that, but you came over from Steph's show. And shout out to her for promoting our show. And also those of you who followed us from our takes on the New York Liberty. As far as it stands right now, shout out to the people being optimistic. I think it's going to be a lockout for the WNBA. Just don't seem like they want to pay these ladies their money. And that's a shame, you know? So I hope that, I believe they got 3 days. That's the deadline, March 10th. So if they don't get their money, those of you who did buy tickets, I've been hearing through the grapevine and I've seen people on IG and TikTok saying that they've reached out to reps from not just the New York Liberty, but other teams, other states that they're in, and they've been told that they can get their money back. So rightfully so, you know. So listen, I don't want them to fold. Stand your ground and get your bag and don't settle. So the way the agreements are now are trash because they would break up a lot of teams. You know, a lot of these teams, the way they're set up, uh, Kelsey Mitchell she wouldn't still be on the team with Caitlin Clark. That three-headed monster we got on the Liberty, that would be broken up. The Aces would be broken up because it's only like the way the new negotiations are. The league wants to pay whoever's the superstar the highest, and everybody else pay would basically subside and be low. You know what I mean? You can't do that. That just it makes no sense. We're all going on the floor playing the same game.
Exactly.
So it's just like no, 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 no. So like I said, I wasn't a season ticket holder for this upcoming season because I'll be working at my seasonal job. So uh yeah, we'll see. So we'll keep you guys abreast of what's going on. I'm keeping daily, every day to see what's the new. I'm just giving you guys the layman's terms of basically what they're saying as of right now. So we'll see if there's going to be a season. But in the meantime, we still got the NBA and we're going to be tuned into the Knicks. We'll both be catching that game and then we'll be doing probably a recap maybe on Tuesday if we don't do one Monday, but definitely to kind of go over both games both for both California teams. So yeah, until next time, everybody, we'll see you all next time. Everybody have a good weekend. And as Steve Alox always says, let's go Knicks.